everybody. I can barely see over this. It's funny because I'm sitting here listening to the historical background of the college, and during all this time I was like working on the wards thinking, gosh, there's this thing called a college and all they want is my $500. And then you move along and you kind of see how much the college actually does for our profession, and I guess to the same regard, Dietitians of Canada. So over the last few years, I've gotten more involved in my role as the Dietetics Education Coordinator at UBC, and beyond that, now joined the registration committee, so getting more involved and seeing truly how much work that goes on at the college. So I'm just going to speak today. Fern asked me to talk about really connecting dietetics education and kind of how the CDBC regulation impacts dietetics education. So I'll just touch on a few highlighted points and hopefully not take up my full 5 minutes, but pull me away if I do. The first, I guess, kind of key message that came to mind when Fern asked me to talk about this today is that in many ways, as educators, we really have common goals with what the college is doing for the profession. So the profession, I heard this a little bit earlier, is actually regulated. We're regulated health profession under the Health Professions Act. And so CDBC is sort of mandated to ensure the protection of the public in BC according to this act. And for us as educators, we're doing the same thing. Like we're training students to enter the profession to practice safely as dietitians. So I went actually to the CDBC website and their mission, and took a look at their mission, and I was like, I feel like I've read this before. And what it basically says is the CDBC ensures protection of the BC public by establishing, monitoring, and enforcing competent, safe, and ethical dietetic practice. And so I went to our internship evaluation, and I saw that basically almost word for word, one of our key evaluation criteria for our interns is that the intern has to perform in a manner consistent with generally accepted standards in the profession for safe, effective, efficient, ethical practice. Like we're really aiming for the same thing here. So it was interesting to me how sort of common our goals are, even though we're doing somewhat varied things. The second point I wanted to mention was just around the fact that educators and regulators in dietetics practice, we don't work as separate bodies. And I was going to use the word collaboration, but somebody told me recently that collaboration is maybe on its way out and co-creation is on its way in. So regardless of what you use, I feel like we do kind of co-create. And there's this body called PDEP that some of you may have heard of. It's called Partnership for Dietetic Education and Practice. And it has the term partnership in it because that partnership involves educators, dietetic educators, regulators, and Dietitians of Canada. So the three bodies come together and play a role with a variety of activities that affect the profession nationally. So one of the biggest projects that they worked on recently is developing these competencies for entry to practice. And that's what dietetic education programs are taking as kind of the foundation for how we train our students to enter practice. They have to meet these competencies or they are not deemed to be, I guess, safe to practice. So we do that through education programs, which is the course-based component, the internship, and then also the Canadian Dietetic Regulation exam, which the college administers. So there are educators, including representatives from UBC, regulators, including representatives from the college, that are involved in all that work. And I guess one of the components of those entry to level competencies is this really robust professional practice domain. And one of the key components is that it really addresses, I guess, one of the sections is that it relates to kind of complying with provincial regulatory requirements relevant to dietetic practice. So students, all of our students, have to demonstrate like knowledge, skills, and attitudes that are relevant to provincial regulations. So that talks about like the bylaws, scope of practice, code of ethics, be able to recognize non-compliance, their own scope of practice, etc. So how do we bring this to life in the dietetics program at UBC? Campus courses, Fern does come regularly to talk to our students in the professional practice courses, and there is also the expectation that our students do demonstrate elements of professional practice throughout the campus-based component of the program. And during internship, Jeannie does every year talks to our interns during intern teaching rounds around the introducing them to CDBC regulation and the process of registration requirements as dietitians. And again, during internship, our students are expected to comply with all the regulatory requirements and are actually evaluated on this. So we hope that they're prepared and understanding the whole professional practice and the expectations of being a dietitian within a regulated profession when they enter the workforce. So what does the future hold? I'm being told I'm moving away, I'm to be moved away, but I guess I'll leave that out. But I do hope that there are more opportunities to kind of co-create as we go forward and work with the college. Thanks.